involved because I had met Walt before on this, and so shortly after Mark and I were married, we were at the Tam O'Shanter, and Walt came in and he sat and talked with us for a while, and when he went to leave, he said, "You're going to work for me someday." I already had, but I didn't want to tell him that. So anyway, about 2 years later, the phone rang one morning, and it was Walt's secretary, and she said that Walt wanted her to ask me if I wanted to do the costumes for Small World. And I said, "Boy, do I." And so she said, "Be here at 9 o'clock in the morning," and I went to work.
I think everybody at Ryman Arts and all of you here who really are supporting us, and when you see this art, but I hope that you don't see just a mix of tools, but that you see really an entire community of students, teachers, facilitators of dreams. It really is something that changed my life, and it's great to see it continue to change other young people's lives.
Jim Hill and I have known each other for many years. Jim, as you know, is JimHillMedia.com, and that Disney expert and that must-see site that Disney enthusiasts go to. What are you doing?
You have a podium. You're 100% correct in the assumption that the internet has taken away the need for writing postcards. People don't use the telephone as much as they did in many cases, although everybody's got one with them probably, or an iPad or an iPhone or something like that. And believe it or not, actually go back 100 years when postcards were very prevalent in America. The telephone was one of the reasons, along the First World War, but the telephone was one of the reasons why postcards weren't as popular, because you could pick up the phone and say thank you for dinner last night. You didn't write the card. But as far as cards being sold at the park, I think there's a difference. I mentioned it, Nick mentioned it. These are the cheapest form of advertisement you could ever have. You can buy a card, okay, it was a nickel, now it's 85 cents or whatever it might be. But it's still a cheap form of advertisement for the name Disneyland or Disney World or wherever you are. And it's seen by a lot of people as it travels cross-country across the world. And it's still something you hold in your hand that says, I was here. So I still think they're going to be selling postcards 20 years from now.
Each of you brings a very unique perspective to our collective love of things Disney. And I would hope that many of you will take the time to stop by afterwards, chat with our authors, and get their books, because they're all great books. And I thank all of you so much for taking the time to share this afternoon what you've written.
And thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Oh, I like this one. This sounds very old. This sounds like the little cobblestone streets of Spain, kind of to me. I picture Don Quixote and Sancho Panza. Listen to this one. Thank you.
And when I talked to Carol, I said, "Is there a theme going on for you guys? What's the big deal this year?" And she said it's all about small world. So I went ahead and I went and thought about that a little bit. I go, yeah, you know what? I went to our friends at Merchandise and I said, "Is there anything we can borrow?" They gave me all this great Mary Blair art. And I got to thinking, here's our title. You know, it's all about the happiest crunchies and munchies. Actually, munchies and crunchies and novelties too that ever sail the seven seas. This here is the team.
I was actually hired for Disney on Parade, which was, I was assistant to the producer of that. And then that was a touring arena show. Some of you may remember that. It was an ice show without ice, basically. Then I was manager of special projects for the entertainment division. Then I was director of entertainment for Walt Disney World. Then I was director of show development for all Disney parks and the company at large, where we got involved in all the big events that Disney got involved with. And then I was a television producer at Disney Studios. And then the Disney Channel, as he mentioned, I was the vice president of original programming and production to put the channel on the air, and then for the first couple of years of the channel.
What do you say we
try this? Okay, this is absolutely, we have not rehearsed this, we have never tried anything like this.
Not try this at home.
I thought it would be fun that we show kind of behind the scenes how we do a session at Disney Character Voices. And I don't know if I have my computer up here. They don't use a little laptop. They have a big room with a really big computer and a great board and great microphones, and it's very comfortable. But it's the same program. This is Pro Tools, and what I have loaded into here is on the Disney Channel we have these Have a Laugh shorts, and I have one of them that is in here, and I was going to play that for you. And
Which one do you have up there, Bill?
Huh?
Which one do you have up there?
Of course, can't see either, which an editor should be able to do. This is Tugboat Mickey.
Very good.
And I was just going to play it for you. And so this is the way that the edited version is, but not with our voices. This is the original soundtrack, the original voices.
And I remember seeing The Rite of Spring on Disneyland.
Oh, yeah. Well,
and my mother was sure it would terrify me, and I was just fascinated. It was dinosaurs, and I loved it.
You got to see these early dark things when you were a kid. You just reminded me that, of course, the original Mickey Mouse Club, I must have been 4 or 5, and I do remember seeing that every day on TV and loving the, of course, the Disney shows. Oh yeah, and I love when they showed cartoons. That was the highlight of those shows, and also the Disneyland shows.
But as Jerry was saying, many of the old artists, when we first started talking to them, their memories were better, and you could just ask them about things. And I remember talking to Grim Natwick about Snow White, and he told me the one rule at Disney was what you did had to be better than anyone else could do anywhere, even if it meant you had to animate a scene 14 times, which he did on one. On Snow White.
At least out loud, I won't say I'm in love.
So just share a couple stories with us of some stuff that may have happened backstage that wasn't scripted.
Okay, so in Houston, when they were trying to figure it all out, the transformation was a David Copperfield effect. I signed my life away, I can't explain to you how it happened. Or it didn't happen. It's 99.5% accurate. But when you do 800 shows, that's 4 shows where it doesn't work. So what do you do when the beast doesn't transform into a prince? And we learned that in Houston. It was horrible. It was springtime for Hitler. It was, they told us right before Terry and I entered, okay, transformation's not working. So we're like, okay. So all the lighting effect for the transformation is still gonna happen, but he's not gonna be flying in the air and miraculously turning into a prince? They're like, right. Go! I'm like, okay, so Terry just like pathetically turns around and I like stand up and I've got my cape, and so I turn my back to the audience and I like whoosh my cape so that Terry can like pull off a rubber mask and like throw it somewhere where nobody can see it, and then he just turns around. But then it just looked bad. I turn around, I open a cape, Terry goes down, nobody can see what's happening. And I turn around and he's now a prince, and the audience was literally like, I never had to fight a single battle in Beauty and the Beast because I had Terrence Mann, and he would fight them for me. And he went off stage and he says, "You have to have a plan B." And they came up with a plan B, so that this amazing electronic contraption that would make him fly through the air could be manually done, and it would not be as magical, but at least he would transform in a way that was somehow acceptable, because that was awful.
But back to the quotes, I never forget the one quote Walt Disney made. I never worked for him, but I met him once when I was about 8, 9 years old. And he said, it's not just who you know, but how you know them. And man, I tell you, I wish I'd have paid more attention to that. It is so important, because a lot of people, when I do speak, they come up and say, well, how'd you get to know Carol Burnett, all these people? Oh, it's just who you know, or relationships like that, and how you know somebody is very important.
The hallmark of Disney animation is, and this is something that was drilled into us young animators early on, is that we're dealing with not realistic or real characters, but believable characters, and there's a difference there. And Eric Larson, who trained most of us, people of my generation, as well as getting to know Frank and Ollie over the years, they really stressed that whole idea that, the idea is believable characters. Jasmine really doesn't exist outside of a line drawing, but her character is. You walk out of the theater and you believe in these characters, just as if you and I were sitting next to, them talking like this.
So finally, after all this time, I get offered the chance to work on the Discoveryland area. And so, man, I'm telling you, look at that little hopeful face. I was so excited. I'm thinking, budget, I'm gonna have a budget. I'm gonna get to build something. Well, anyway. And I get the little Euro name tag where Mickey goes, "We don't know where the park is, but it's somewhere out there. Somewhere in France. We really can't talk about it. It's there." I loved that name tag, But that was the final thing. So I have to tell you about this. So I get my first chance to get into WDI. And I have to tell you, you get that job, and for years as a kid, you get this. This is so special, man. I'm like, oh, wow. And there's Claude Coates over there. There's Colin Campbell. Oh, there's that guy. You're like, oh my goodness, how did I get in here? What happened? So now I'm in there. Everyone's leaving. It's 5 o'clock. I go, where's everybody going? Well, we're going to a retirement party for one of our Imagineer. Oh, really? Well, can I go? They go, sure, come on, So I go to this retirement party, and I don't know anybody, but everyone's very nice to me. And the interesting thing, it's for this gentleman. And I'm sitting there, and the guy's name was John Edgren, and he was like a project superintendent or something. And he built things with Walt Disney, and he's a funny, wonderful kind of guy. So I'm standing there, and they leave the mic at the end. I go, well, if anyone wants to say anything to Don. And the longer I look at this guy, something dawns on me. I come up to the mic and said, Mr. Edgren, sir, my name is Eddie Sato. I don't look anything like I did when I was 12, but you are the guy that drove the Impala, that took me around Disney World, you took time out of your day when the Hall of Presidents roof was collapsing and all this other junk was happening, because I had heard your phone calls in your office. You are the ultimate yes man, because you said yes to a 12-year-old when you didn't have time to. And he was shocked. He goes, oh my goodness, your parents drove me nuts.
Well, I'd love to chat all afternoon, but unfortunately we're running out of time here. While Gary is getting your award, I'd like to ask one final question, which is, in your mind, how would you define the Disney legacy?
I think the Disney legacy is about giving everybody of all ages enjoyment. And that can come in many forms. It can come in the form of a great theme park attraction. It can come in the form of a great movie. It can come in the form of an emotional experience. It can come in the form of just getting people to laugh. And I think that really is the Disney legacy, as wide as it is and as much ground as it covers. It's kind of enjoyment for everybody.
But as far as what I think the legacy is, I think it actually goes back to Walt himself. And where it kind of hit home again is I'm working on some projects for the Disney Hollywood Studios also. in addition to Cars Land. And when I'm there, I like to go see the One Man Dream show, One Man's Dream, you know, about Walt and the history and all that. And I was watching that film, and it occurred to me again that, you know, he said Disneyland will never be complete as long as there's imagination left in the world. And now that means every single park around the world, as Marty says, the sun never sets on a Disney theme park. And so it's really, it's such a profound honor to be an Imagineer, to be part of a team that collaboratively we get together and we continue to keep that imagination going, to create amazing experiences for our family, for our guests to enjoy in our parks. And something that we don't take lightly, and we try to settle for nothing less than excellence. And so the legacy to me is to continue to be part of the team that Walt started, and that is our job and our love and our joy to continue to create the kinds of experiences, whether it be in film or television or in the theme parks, that are nothing but the finest in family entertainment, and I truly believe that.